So, an extraordinary night of euphoria in Berlin. Within hours of East Germany's decision to let its people go by opening the border to the west, the city erupted in a frenzy of celebration. East German border guards watched as jubilant crowds danced on the infamous Berlin Wall that's divided Europe for a generation. All night, thousands of Berliners from both east and west streamed through the crossing points, and throughout the night our correspondents have been out with them. Our first report from East Berlin comes from Brian Hanrahan.
It was to Bornholmerstrasse in the north of the city that most Berliners hurried to check what was happening. It was here in the past that East Germans with permission to travel were filtered in and out of the country. But tonight, there were no filters, no checks. At midnight, the border was thrown open and the crowd surged through the open gates. The border guards withdrew and watched, their amazement matched by the mounting excitement of a people suddenly free to do what they wanted.
This is the middle of the checkpoint. The police are making no attempt to stop people. The gates have been thrown open and thousands of people are pouring over to take a look at a West. In some cases, their first look, and the elation is enormous.
But these were not people abandoning their country. Most were simply heading for the night out of their lives. They discovered what was happening by watching West German television, and they'd come running, as they were, to join the party. Some were taking the opportunity to leave for good, with baggage and families, still unconvinced even by this dramatic gesture that real change is happening in East Germany. But they were the exceptions.
We want to have the experience to go this way, and we want to go back to our country.
You don't want to stay in the West?
No, never.
What are you going to do when you get into West Berlin?
Now we have friends and we like to visit them, and this is all. And we want to see some musicians and some other things, but this is all.
Have you ever been in West Berlin before?
No, never.
Many queued eagerly to get an official stamp on their papers to prove they'd been there on the night the Berlin Wall crumbled. Beyond the fortifications, a crowd of West Berliners waited, and two nations, one people, merged into a joyful reunion. It was hardest for those old enough to remember how it had been 28 years ago, before the wall was built. But the narrow opening allowed by these Germans wasn't enough to cope with the press of people. Some started to climb over the fence itself, others found another way through it.
Playing a little with the fence.
Did you ever expect to do this?
No, never.
Well, what do you think of tonight?
It's wonderful. So we waited for.
And then they forced open another gate and piled through it. It was a cheerfully anarchic night. Obstacles were unceremoniously removed. The border was no longer sacrosanct, and its guardians were flabbergasted. After 10,000 people had gone through, the West German authorities stopped counting, and by now, West Berliners were going into the East to coax their friends out.
I'm from West Berlin, it's my friend from East Berlin. There's amerikanische families.
And that you'll come to take them over?
There were instant celebrations on the pavements and more to follow. People jumped aboard buses and headed for the bright lights of West Berlin city centre. Few had any West German money, but tonight they weren't going to need any. But behind the gaiety there were supercharged emotions as people remembered the decades they'd been separated from friends and relatives. In the centre of divided Berlin, the Brandenburg Gate straddles the border, normally forbidden to people from both sides. Troops stand guard over it, but tonight they too were to be forced away by people power. And once the troops had gone, Berliners from both east and west linked hands and danced around their liberated territory. And behind them, people scrambled playfully up and down on the Berlin Wall itself, something they used to be shot for. But tonight, everybody wanted to find out how far the new freedom could be stretched.
I'm standing on top of the Berlin Wall, which for years has been the most potent symbol of the division of Europe. And there can be few better illustrations of the changes which are sweeping across this continent than the party which is taking place here on top of it tonight.
I want to be an astronaut.
But this will need to be more than a piece of November madness to wipe out the bitter memories of the past.
I remember when the wall is built, I was a man, 21, and I see people is jumping from the eastern side to the western side, and they were killed in this time. And now it changes. They come to us without danger and free. That's all.
As the night wore on, the army moved back to the Brandenburg Gate and started to ease the people out. And state radios said that from 8 o'clock this morning, the new regulations on travel would take effect. This astonishing night had merely been an interlude between the new law and the old. But now people have discovered the pleasures of popping over the wall. They may not take easily to being regulated again. Brian Hanrahan, BBC News, East Berlin.